Welcome everyone to Gita Vidya Pradarshini, our webinar on this Saturday. I'm going to play one more from Gopiji, Sri Gopi V. Prasad, who's our special panelist. And we'll get started right at the top of the hour.
नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् सदा किशोरभारती विद्या विवेकवर्धिनी प्रपञ्चव्याप्तख्यातिकै प्रज्ञा विज्ञानजागृती सदा किशोरभारती विद्या विवेकवर्धिनी प्रपञ्चव्याप्तख्यातिकै प्रज्ञा विज्ञानजागृती नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् सदा विशिष्टभारती प्रशस्तप्रथमसंस्कृति स्वदेशश्रेष्ठप्रगतिकै समैक्यशक्तिजागृती सदा विशिष्टभारती प्रशस्तप्रथमसंस्कृति स्वदेशश्रेष्ठप्रगतिकै समैक्यशक्तिजागृती नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् सदा सधर्मभारती धरा प्रमोदकारिणी विशालविश्वशान्तिकै स्वधर्मज्ञानजागृती सदा सधर्मभारती धरा प्रमोदकारिणी विशालविश्वशान्तिकै स्वधर्मज्ञानजागृती नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् नमामि भव्यभारतम् नमामि भव्यभारतम्
Wow, beautiful. Thank you all for joining us on this Saturday for Gita Vidya Pradarshini with our special panelist, Gopi V. Prasad. He'll get into what we just listened to in a little bit, but let me just give him a quick introduction as every generation has made an effort to interpret and understand the Bhagavad Gita for its own era. And we're glad to bring Gopiji today in his attempt, and hopefully you'll be a part of it. Gopiji has an MBA in global management from the Bremen University of Applied Sciences in Germany. He did his school education from Sri Aurobindo School in India and has been involved in the study of Bhagavad Gita since childhood. He's the founder, president, and managing director of Glowman Group, which has its presence in Germany and in India. Besides his active corporate career, Gopiji serves as visiting faculty to management schools in the Hindu University of America. He's going to be doing his second and third courses this quarter at HUA. His experience in the field of education has led to the creation of G-Education model, which is applied in the development and dissemination of structured learning programs on the Bhagavad Gita. His interests include writing poetry and drawing cartoons. He's also a beautiful singer, as you heard. He wrote over 100 poems and songs in Telugu and in Hindi. He made cartoons on the shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita to convey their meaning in easy and effective ways. Gopiji is involved in community service and voluntarily supports many social and spiritual organizations. He's the recipient of the Sri Sardar Patel Award in the year 2010. It's my pleasure to have Gopiji here with us today. Thank you, Gopiji. Let me hand it off to you.
A pleasure.
Welcome.
Thank you. So, namaste to all. It's a pleasure always to be part of Hindu University of America and the webinar with you all nice people out there. Thanks for that generous introduction, Ankur. And songs that were just played right before the start of today's webinar were all written by me very recently. In fact, there are many more which are written in the past, but these three relate to the context of today's webinar, and that's how I requested you. And thanks for playing them all. So if those who have heard this song, just to give a brief kind of summary of them, one of the songs is about the India, which is now going to be world's most highest population country with 1.4 billion very soon, has also the highest youngest population in the world. And this song's first stanza talks about that we do have good education system and most of these children are getting educated very well. Right now, if there is a need for something more, it is to develop prajna and Vijnana. Prajna is consciousness, to be conscious about what we are learning, to be conscious about the society and the surroundings. And Vijnana is to apply the knowledge that is being learned in the schools and develop things that are needed for the nation and the well being of the people of the country. So that's the message of this song that I wrote. And to the end of that song, the last stanza talks about Swadharma Jnana Jagriti. So, for the peace and harmony around the world in this Vishwa, what is essential is everybody to get enriched with by their own Swadharma that their generations have passed on as a treasure to them. And in that context, Gita Vidya, Sadhana, Sodhana, and Vadana, the three set course that we are promoting at Hindu University of America, lay the foundation for transfer of this divine wisdom to the generations that we are now living in, and also to the younger generation, which are going to take control of this world in pretty soon. Our effort or vision is to give what has been given to us, and that passing on of this treasure from one generation to the other is called in Sanskrit as parampara, from one to the other. And hence, what we are doing by bringing these three courses is setting the parampara of transfer of this divine wisdom from the ancient times to the future times through the present generation. So, with that brief introduction, I would like to take you through a short presentation that have put together a few slides to systematically take you through the contents that I would want to present. Let me share the slides on the screen. So, please.
And while Gopiji is doing that, this is a global project. Maybe you could put in the chat where you are in the world and we can see the diversity of Hindus everywhere. You can just put in the chat where you're in. I'm in Los Angeles, and Gopiji is going to start sharing his screen right now. Great, we can see it.
Excellent. Thank you all for that brief update, and quite heartening to know that we have today amongst us people from all around the world, from three different continents. Quite an honor to be here today. So shall I go on, Ankurji?
Yeah. All you,
Great.
Gopiji. Thank you.
Thank you. So Gita Vidya Pradarshini, that's the title of today's webinar. And I will come to the details of it soon, but just convey the meaning of this word for those who are not familiar with the Sanskrit terminology. Gita here refers to Bhagavad Gita. Vidya is the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. Pradarshini is an exhibition. So a visual exhibit that is going to describe the Vidya, the wisdom of Gita, Bhagavad Gita. That's what we call as Gita Vidya Pradarshini. So now, basically, we are covering the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita in this entire Pradarshini. As we all know, Bhagavad Gita consists of 18 chapters with 700 shlokas, and each chapter covers a unique aspect about the human endeavor. What we have done is made a careful selection of 140 key shlokas from entire Bhagavad Gita across different chapters. And these 140 shlokas have been arranged into 17 thematic topics. Each theme talks about the present day issue or brings the knowledge into the context of today's time. As you see, the first set of 100 is named as Gita Vidya Jnana Shatakam, meaning to say a set of 100 poems or shlokas is called Shatakam in Sanskrit vocabulary or grammar. So Shatakam is, Shata is 100, Shatakam is a collection of 100, and this Gita Vidya Jnana Shatakam is a collection of 100 selected shlokas from across Bhagavad Gita. As you can see on the index, they have been arranged here under 12 different topics. The rest I will come soon, but here you see the topics are again divided into 4 broad modules. The first one deals about the material body. So whatever the physical body that we can see, we can touch, we can feel, this is all part of material body. In Sanskrit, we call it as Stula Deha. And the first 3 lessons are about the nature, which is the entire planet and the green and everything that we have around us. The next lesson is the body. Here it talks about the human body and the composition of human body. Then the third is the mind, the human mind and its functioning. So these are selected shlokas, part of first module called material body, Stula Deha. The next is psychic body, which is Sukshma Deha. In this, we have 3 lessons: the senses, which is about our sensory organs and the conscious together. And then the gunas, the characteristics of the human being. And then we have the next 5th lesson, sense control, and 6th lesson, sense gratification. These are the 2 ways in which a human being can lead their life. Either we can lead by controlling our senses and reasonably addressing to their needs and desires, or we can completely give in to our sensory organs and their desires and whims and lead life in pursuit of satisfying the sensory desires. And we talk about both paths, and Bhagavad Gita presents very precisely the consequences of both paths, which are covered in these 2 lessons. Then the third module, as you see, is the material wisdom, Stula Jnana in Sanskrit, which covers physical wisdom, which talks about the physical body and the physical world. And then the second one is social wisdom, which is going to talk about the social structure as per Bhagavad Gita and as prescribed by Bhagavad Gita. The third is occupational wisdom, which talks about the human behavior and the nitty-gritties about one's success, what kind of qualities and characteristics one should have. All these aspects are covered in occupational wisdom. And the last module in the Gita Vidya Jnana Shatakam is psychic wisdom, which is Sukshma Jnana, which talks about mental wisdom, the mind, emotional wisdom, the feelings in the human body, spiritual wisdom, which is the ultimate wisdom one should have, is what we cover in Gita Vidya Jnana Shatakam. Now that's just 100. We spoke 140 as the total collection. I'm coming to the next 40. They have been organized into another topic called Gita Vidya Yoga Chalisa. Now, Chalisa is a set of 40 basically in Hindi language. And Yoga Chalisa is the 40 shlokas that talk about the yoga. Yoga in Bhagavad Gita. Yoga means union of two things. And what we are talking about in Bhagavad Gita is the union of Atma with Paramatma. And so the first lesson in Yoga Chalisa is Atma and Paramatma, in which we discuss about the features about what is Atma, we talk about what is Paramatma, and we talk about the connection between Atma and Paramatma. As we talk about the union of Atma and Paramatma, Bhagavad Gita prescribes 4 paths for the pursuit of the union of Atma with Paramatma. And these 4 paths are Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. We'll be dealing about the basics of these 4 paths for the union of Atma with Paramatma. And they also bring about a very profound knowledge about action, about knowledge, about meditation, how to do meditation, how to sit in a meditation, what is the posture to have. Very details are as prescribed by Bhagavad Gita. None of the contents of these two booklets is anything out of Bhagavad Gita, but everything from within Bhagavad Gita. So having given a brief overview about what these 140 shlokas are going to be, let me come to how they are presented in the lessons. Each lesson will have not more than 8 to 9 shlokas. So we are trying to keep it short and simple for easy consumption, easy understanding of the participants. So entire 17 chapters or 17 lessons that are part of our Gita Vidya program, each lesson will always have not more than 8 to 9 shlokas. And these shlokas are available in different scripts. As you see already on the screen, we have it on in Devanagari script here. We also have it is in English, and then we have it in Tamil, we have it in Telugu, we also have it in Kannada. So the script in different languages is made available so that people who are conversant with the letters, alphabets of that particular language can find it easy to read these shlokas. While the script is different, the shloka remains the same. It is basically a Sanskrit shloka, so the shloka doesn't change anywhere. It is as in Bhagavad Gita. It's only the script that is made available in different uh, major languages in the world. Now I'm coming to the Pradarshini part. So each of these shloka has been drawn into an image. So I started doing this last year. Basically, what I do is I sit and understand the shloka and the tatparya from different acharyas and try and visualize how to present this as an image so that we can understand it or it can be helpful in better understanding or easy understanding. And while depicting these shlokas into images, I made sure that I'm trying to do it as relating to the present day times So all the images that you see are very modern in terms of their attire and look and feel. However, they convey the message of that very particular shloka. And as there are 17 different lessons in the entire program, we do have 17 different vertical banners that have been created using the depictions of these shlokas in cartoon formats. So as you see on the screen, the first one is the lesson, the nature. So this is the depiction of the particular shlokas in that lesson. And the next lesson, you see the body, the different eatables and everything. It all talks about the shlokas, which are part of the lesson, the body. And then the third one is the mind. Here you see different images, which are again explaining the Bhagavad Gita shlokas. And that continues. And this is the next set of three. Here we see the second module, three lessons, the senses, which is basically sattva, rajas, and tamo. These are three gunas which are in human body and how they interplay, which is all explained in these images as described in Bhagavad Gita. The next is sense control. And then we have sense gratification as again another poster here. So these are all vertical banners. And then we have the next three lessons, physical wisdom, which is material wisdom, social wisdom, and this is a lesson from the Gita Chalisa, Atma and Paramatma. You can see all these images are very modern in their outlook, but they convey the deep meaning of Bhagavad Gita. Children particularly will enjoy learning Bhagavad Gita with the help of these kind of images. Not only children, every person of every age group, it makes it easy to understand the very deep philosophical shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. Now, what I would like to take you through is the technical features of these exhibits. So these exhibits are very easy to handle. I would like to play a short video that shows how these exhibits can be handled. A single person can put up the entire exhibition, can upload the entire exhibition. So that's as simple as to pull it up and put up on a flat surface. These can be organized indoors as well as outdoors, as long as we have a flat surface. The very banners are made by vinyl, so they are waterproof. Only thing is hot sun might fade them, otherwise they can be used even in the outdoors, which means that we can use or put up these exhibitions in any temple premises, for example, a community center or a school, for example, and it requires very little space and people can go in line and look through these exhibits. Now the next question comes up, okay, I see the exhibit, but what do I know about it? What shloka is this exhibit talking about? So that's where we come to the next technical feature of this Gita Vidya Pradarshini, which is they are communicating. So they you just have to scan the QR code, which would be available at the bottom of each banner, and that will lead you to the shlokas, and it the recitation of the shlokas in the accurate pronunciation will be coming out as an audio from your mobile. So basically, when we are setting up this exhibition and inviting people to participate, people come with their mobile phones, and as long as they are connected with internet, all they have to do is put earphones so that the others are not disturbed by the sound coming out of our mobile phone, and scan the QR code and listen to the shlokas that are being depicted in these images. I will play one so that it shows how exactly it looks like. The previous video had a higher volume, but the next subsequent videos are not having so much of high volume. In case if you have reduced your system volume, you could increase for this video.
चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्मविभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्यकर्तारमव्ययम् काम्यानां कर्मणान्यासं सन्न्यासं कवयो विदुः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं प्राहुस्त्यागं विचक्षणाः दातव्यमिति यद्दानं दीयतेनुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम् यत्तु प्रत्युपकारार्थं फलमुद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टं तद्दानं राजसं स्मृतम् अदेशकाले यद्दानम् अपात्रेभ्यश्च दीयते असत्कृतमवज्ञातं तत्तामसमुदाहृतम् ब्राह्मणक्षत्रियविशां शूद्राणां च परन्तप कर्माणि प्रविभक्तानि स्वभावप्रभवैर्गुणैः शमोदमस्तपः शौचं क्षान्तिरार्जवमेव च ज्ञानं विज्ञानमास्तिक्यं ब्रह्मकर्म स्वभावजम् शौर्यं तेजो धृतिर्दाक्ष्यं युद्धे चाप्यपलायनं दानमीश्वरभावश्च क्षात्रं कर्म स्वभावजम् कृषिगौरक्ष्यवाणिज्यं वैश्यकर्म स्वभावजम् परिचर्यात्मकं कर्म शूद्रस्यापि स्वभावजम्.
So that's basically how the shlokas depicted on each poster are played on your mobile with the help of scanning the QR code. Now, from there, to understand further what these shlokas are and what they mean, and the further detailed study of each of it would not be possible without going through a structured learning model. And hence we have 3 different courses that are being now offered by the Hindu University of America, where I will be personally teaching the students about the meanings of each of these diagrams, each of these shlokas. We follow a model of active, interactive, and collaborative model of learning. uh, and which gives ample opportunity for each one in the classroom to understand these shlokas, which are very much useful and adaptable to the day-to-day life. You know, you can use the wisdom right now here in this very moment. However, to give a taste of how the class would look like and what am I going to do in the class, how am I going to detail these images, I give one sample today. I'll take you through one lesson, which is the social wisdom. So you see two images here, and on top of the image, you also see the number of the shloka. Which shloka is being depicted in this image is also mentioned on the top. If you are able to see on the right top corner, you will always find the BG is Bhagavad Gita, and then the number 4 denotes the chapter in Bhagavad Gita, and 13 denotes the number of shloka. So this is basically 13th shloka of 4th chapter in Bhagavad Gita. And likewise, the next one is second shloka in 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So every image very precisely tells to which particular shloka does this image belong to. Now let us see the first shloka. It is Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kartaram Apimam Vidya Kartaram Avyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non doer, being unchangeable. So, what Bhagwan is saying here is Chatur Varnam Maya Srishtam. I have created the fourfold order in the society, but I am not responsible for it. Uh, how is it possible? So let me put an analogy. Now look at this diagram. At the very center, you find a human body. You cannot make out to which caste does he belong from the outfit. I purposely drawn it like that. And then above that, you see three smileys. These three smileys are in every image. They are standard depictions that I have carried through the entire Pradarshini. So this center smiley is Sattva Guna, the sattvic nature. The one with the goggles is Rajasic, Rajoguna. And the one with the sleepy mode is Tamoguna. So wherever we find these smileys, we have to understand that I'm trying to explain these gunas at that point. Now this person with influence of these gunas is what we see in the very central part. And surrounding, we see various tools. So we have some sword and spear, and then on top we have the Talapatra, the Vedas, the Thali, Puja Thali, or the plate which is used for the prayers and worships. And this is a steel thing that you use to write on Talapatras. And we have a taraju, or the balance which is used in the shops. This is a bag full of coins, gold coins, and we have a milk can. And this is the plow which we use to the irrigation, the cultivation. And we have the kind of tools which are used in the farming and the labor. Now, whatever this person is going to pick up as his wealth creation tool, that makes him a particular choice, and then based on that choice he is thereby perceived as a person doing that job, belonging to that job. So this is what has been created. Now, if you people remember, in childhood, we do this Annaprasana for our children. And during Annaprasana, what we do as a small play, we keep the children at a small child, the child is still crawling on the floor now, just learn how to move further. And then at a distance, we keep few things, few coins or a pen, a book, some eatable thing, and then we allow the child to go and pick one. As parents, we don't tell them to go pick this particular thing or that particular thing, but the child, based on the child's inherent nature and curiosity, crawls and goes forward and picks up something that makes attractive to him, that, and then he takes it. We understand that if the child has picked up pen, then parents feel that, okay, this boy or girl is going to do good in education. So this is a small ritual we play in the Annaprasna time. If we apply the same analogy here, more or less the same is happening here, based on the person, what he is choosing as a tool, as a professional, as an occupation, makes him that particular group or a caste or a particular sect. Let's go to the second shloka, which is 18.2, and the next diagram, which is explaining Kamyanam karmananyasam sanyasam kavayo viduhu sarva karma phalatyagam prahustyagam vichakshanaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, the tyaga. So, sannyasa, tyaga, these are the two things that are mentioned in this shloka. You can see in the bottom, a person is watering a plant and that is giving some fruits there. That's basically the karma. If one gives up the karma, we call it as sannyasa. If one does the karma but gives away the fruits of it to someone without anticipating anything in return, that is called tyaga. So this diagram depicts so in the society, we have two options according to this shloka in Bhagavad Gita. One, giving away the karma is called sannyasa. Giving away the fruits of karma is called tyaga. And both are important for wealth creation and redistribution of the wealth in society. And that's why it is part of this lesson called social wisdom. One side, it is important for the society's function that there is a lot of wealth creation in the society. And since all men are not born with equal opportunities, there needs to be a redistribution of the wealth in order to maintain peace and harmony in the society. And hence in Bhagavad Gita, we have these two, that is tyaga. Now let's go to the next set of questions. This giving away to the people, and this is explained in influence of three gunas, what is called as what. So let's go through the shlokas, Bhagavad Gita 17:20, 17:21, and 17:22. दातव्यमिति यद्दानं दीयते नुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं श्रुतम् यत्तु प्रत्युपकारार्थ फलमुद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टं तद्दानं राजसं स्मृतम् अदेशकाले यद्दानम् अपात्रेभ्यश्च दीयते असत्कृतमवज्ञातं तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्. So basically what it is saying, it is a person under the influence of the guna is, if he is giving a charity given out of duty without expectation of return at a proper time and place and to a worthy person, is considered to be the dana done in the mode of goodness. But charity performed with the expectation of some return or with the desire for future results or in a grudging mode is said to be the charity in the mode of passion. And charity performed at an improper place, at an improper time, to an unworthy person, or without proper attention and respect is said to be the mode of ignorance. And not giving charity is also in the mode of ignorance. Now, to depict these shlokas, what we have taken here is a person who is a graduate trying to give the knowledge to others without anticipating anything in return can be explained or given an example as Sattvika Dana. Now, here we have a politician who does, of course, give some welfare to the people, but he also expects that these people vote him and make him win the next elections. So, this is categorized as Rajasika Dana. Here again, there is a person, a very rich, wealthy man, is willing to give donation at one side and also anticipating some award and samman, in return of that donation. So this is also can be categorized as Rajasika Dana. The last one, there is this person who is wealthy, but he doesn't give any credit, nor he is going to give any donation. He only takes and piles up the money, can be termed as tamasic. So you can see how with the help of this diagram, we can understand the meaning of Bhagavad Gita and apply to our current day time and check by ourselves if we are doing some action in certain way, what to call this as. The last image of this lesson, social wisdom, covers 4 shlokas. It is Bhagavad Gita shloka number 1841, 1842, 1843, and 1844. They all talk about the fourfold social order in Hindu dharma, Hindu system. So they are as follows. ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय विसाम शूद्राणां च परन्तप कर्माणि प्रविभक्तानि स्वभावैर प्रभैर्गुणैः यमो दमस्तपःशौचं क्षान्तिराज्यवमेव च ज्ञानं विज्ञानमास्तिक्यं ब्रह्म कर्म स्वभावजम् शौर्यं तेजो धृतिर्दाक्ष्यं युद्धे चाप्यपलायनं दानमीश्वरभावस्य क्षात्रं कर्म स्वभावजम् कृषिगौरक्ष्यवाणिज्यं वैश्यकर्म स्वभावजं परिचर्यात्मकं कर्म शूद्रस्यापि स्वभावजम्. So basically the fourfold social order has been explained here. We have seen in the first image that these orders are created by the Lord himself, and it is based on a person's guna, which is his inherent nature and character, and karma, the kind of occupation he takes up. These two constitute to a particular caste into which he is going to evolve. So it is not by janma that is to be understood here. Bhagavad Gita doesn't say that chatur varnyam based on janma. No, it is based on karma and guna. Now, if this person in the central picks up any of these here, what you see, archery, bow and arrow, a spear or a sword, which is all about, in a warfare, somebody to protect the nation, to protect the community that he belongs to, is called Kshatram Karma Swabhavajam. Again, the shloka doesn't say Kshatriya Karma, it says Kshatram Karma. Such karma requires Kshatram. Kshatram is the valor and the kind of courage. So people who are getting into this kind of activities are said to be taking up Kshatram Karma Swabhavajam. And then the above we have the highest of all activities, karma, is creation of knowledge and distribution of knowledge. And this is what is done in the top with tapasya, with yajna, with study of Vedas. And hence we call this as Brahma Karma Swabhavajam. Again, the shloka doesn't say Brahmana Karma, it says Brahma Karma. Now, how to understand Brahma Karma is a karma action which is the highest in its character, is called as Brahma Karma. We might have heard the words Astra, Brahmastra. So Astra is then a weapon. Brahmastra is the highest of all weapons as Brahmastra. Karma, Brahma Karma, is also to be understood in the same notion that highest of all karma is Brahma Karma. Krushi Gauraksha Vanijyam, this is Vaisya Karma Swabhavajam. You see there is irrigation and the trade is the nature and karma of Vaishya. And then Paricharyatmakam Karma, which is to serve the other people. So we have this palaki here, the support functions is called to be Sudrasyapi Swabhavacham. So with the help of this diagram, this is how we can understand the shlokas in an easier way. And this is a taste that I just gave you. We get to every shloka in a same or little more detail in the course, Gita Vidya Sadhana and Gita Vidya Sodhana. We have recently completed one batch of Gita Vidya Sadhana. I would like to share some of the feedback that we received from our previous students as testimonials. So the next video.
Namaste to everyone. I am Mohan Ramaswamy from New York, and I just completed the Gita Sadhana course offered by the Hindu University of America as part of their winter session. Going in, I was committed to the 3-course Bhagavad Gita study, but I was not exactly sure what the first course was about. But now I can say categorically that it's a good introductory course to the ocean called Bhagavad Gita. I developed familiarity with the main themes and the relevant shlokas from all 18 chapters that were grouped under each one of the themes. 14 such themes constituted one set called Gita Shatakam, and 40 more verses constituted the Gita Chalisa. It helped me understand better how one can use the teachings of Gita in daily life. In fact, as a volunteer teacher of teenagers, I've already started using some of the techniques I learned in this course. The added advantage was that the teacher, Sri Gopiji, was very receptive to our suggestions and was very patient with each and every student when answering the questions. I have already enrolled in the 2nd course, Gita Sodhana, and looking forward to what I can learn in this course and the next one too. Thank you to HUA and Gopiji and to all my classmates in the Sadhana course.
That's one of the students in the previous batch. Let's see what another student has to say about the course.
Namaste, my name is Shanta Srivastava. I have successfully completed the Gita Vidya Sadhana course taught by Gopiji and would like to share my experience. This was my first time learning about the Bhagavad Gita, and in fact, I was quite hesitant to register for the course as I am not able to memorize anything anymore, but I am glad I took it. I enjoyed the course because Gopiji is a great teacher. Not only he is knowledgeable, but he also has a lot of patience. His down-to-earth nature made me feel comfortable and kept me motivated. Since I took this course for my personal growth and not to earn any credits, it seems to have helped me to learn about the Bhagavad Gita in a systematic way. Therefore, I have signed up for the next one, which is Gita Vidya Sodhana. Again, it will be taught by Gopiji, so I am looking forward to it. Thank you.
So that brings us to almost the end of today's presentation here, and we open up for questions. And these are some details about the Gita Vidya Sadhana course, the next quarter in spring. We have it starting from 17th of April, and this ends on 26th of June, 2021. It's on every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. to 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then the second course is, it is a prerequisite to have the previous course completed. And this course starts on every Sunday from 18th of April, ends on 27th of June, spring quarter. So that's something that I would encourage you all to consider. And if you have any questions, please, we would like to answer the questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gopiji. That was beautiful. That was great. This is what Hindu University of America is about, giving a platform for people to share our Vedic wisdom and knowledge. And Gopiji has created this course sequence and went through a whole lesson with us on this one webinar. Thank you for doing that. Let me open up a quick poll. Just please fill out this question. Are you interested in the Gita Vidya Sadhana course or the Sodhana course? Yes, no, maybe. I have questions. We'll be following up. I've dropped information for the first class in the chat, so you can link there and see the details that was there. We'll send a follow-up email. The replay of this webinar will be sent out to everyone who registered for this webinar, so you have access to it. We'll include the student testimonials. I saw some people said the audio wasn't great on some of them. That's okay. We'll link it again. Let me just say that the testimonials were positive. And you know, again, the interpretation of the shlokas, it has, I mean, every generation interprets them for their time, right? And that's what we're trying to do here. Gopiji is interactive. He'll answer questions. He'll get into it. And we have a couple of questions in the Q&A chat, and we'll start going through them. So please put them in the Q&A box as opposed to the chat box. It's a little harder to follow them. Devidas asks, and I think a few other folks did, what does the word ROMAN represent on some of the graphics you had earlier in the presentation? Roman, I think that was a signature. I don't know what it was.
Pardon? Can you come again, please?
The word Roman, ROMAN,
Roman.
was
Okay. See, basically, the English language, the German language, most of these European languages use the script, which is called as Roman script from the calligraphy point of view. So if we say just English, whereas the same script is also usable by German, also Dutch. So safely we call it as Roman script, which is basically nothing but English.
Yeah, so that goes perfectly into the next question on the script issue. So it was great to see that you had different scripts and the shlokas are translated or written in different scripts. Somebody asked specifically about Urdu alphabet, or are we planning on expanding? I don't know if you mentioned Gujarati or other scripts, and what is your thoughts on that, and if they're going to include it or not, or which ones are, or why not?
Yes, in fact, we will have all of those scripts. We also already started working and at the final stage of even Urdu script. We have Bhagavad Gita in Urdu script. We have it in Gujarati, Bengali, Punjabi, almost all Indian languages, and a couple of outside languages. So we do have it in every possible script, the lessons of Gita Vidya, Sadhana, Sodhana courses.
Great. What is the homework load like? Homework load, how many hours are expected? What is kind of the investment in time, and what's the proper way for students to participate in these courses?
Gita Vidya Sadhana has more of a practice-oriented course where we will be reciting the shlokas. You will also practice the recitation of these shlokas with the help of guided chanting audios. So these are going to be available on the learning management system of Hindu University of America. Maybe Ankur will take a minute and explain what learning management system is to you. And with the help of learning management system, we also get you to practice the sequence of the shlokas. Very interesting drag and drop kind of puzzles will be there. The previous batch have really enjoyed all of this kind of a very playful environment of learning the serious subject, Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, thank you for that. So the learning management system that Hindu University of America uses, you get your name at hua.edu, you log in, and week by week, you'll log in and see, this is the Zoom link to join the class, here are the lessons, here are the links, here's what you need to read. It's all managed in this online portal to make it easy, to make it easy for Gopiji as a teacher, as a professor, to keep track of students and send stuff out and all those sorts of things. So we're trying to create, and we have created, a very easy to use, intuitive way to participate in the course week by week throughout the quarter system. So that's our learning management system. If you have a specific question on that, you can drop it in. Again, I have a poll open. We had about 54 out of 100 people fill out the poll. If you're interested in the course and the second course, just please give us a yes, no. If you have questions, you can hit that maybe I have questions, and we'll be following up. Let's go on to this next one. Kind of a specific question on a shloka, but this is always comes up. Vijayji asks, how does one take action without expecting any reward? And I don't even know if that's the proper exact, right? The way that the Sanskrit is translated and how we interpret it, it changes. And I hand it off to you to take this very deep and profound shloka that different people apply, and sometimes in different ways with a little difference, because as an English speaker, sometimes the translations don't exactly have the exact word and the definition that we're trying to get at in Sanskrit. Gopiji.
Yes, it's only as long as the sensory organs are very active and are asking for something from this world, the human beings put in every action in expectation of some return to coming to them. And it's only by experience that one can realize it is also possible to do action without expecting any returns. It is doable, it is possible, and it is actually the reason why in our Sanatana Dharma, the Hindu Dharma, we have a group of people like this who kind of set out on self-exploration, and they sit and work on various topics about the human society, come back and give us that wisdom to make our things easy and life much more easier. All this is possible only because of that sattvika nature of doing work. Much more details are available in various shlokas related to this topic, which are again part of this course. I would definitely encourage you to join the course to go into a deeper discussion in these topics.
Great, great. Somebody is asking if the course will be offered at other times. Unfortunately, we're only going to offer the course at this one time this quarter. In the future, it may change, but if you can make some classes and not others, recordings of the course will be made available on that learning management system if you enroll. So you'll be able to, after the course, whenever you're free, watch the course. But we encourage you to live participate, right? That's one of the powerful things about Hindu University of America, being in a classroom setting, on a Zoom setting, seeing other Hindus from around the world, or at least people who are curious, and interacting with them, asking questions, seeing that we're not alone in this pursuit of Vedic knowledge and wisdom, and there is this whole network of Hindus who are connected and trying to learn and elevate and share this knowledge and wisdom. It's a beautiful thing. Right now we're in a webinar setting, so you can't see everyone's video, but in the course it'll be in a meeting setting, so you will be able to see everyone, and Gopiji will manage that. Kind of a Ramesh Joshiji is asking kind of a tangential question. Some people ask other conversations, other issues that often come up about caste and history. We have a whole range of courses. Hindu University of America is trying to address the complicated nature of being Hindu in America and the kinds of narratives that are foisted upon us by the West, by Europe, that we've kind of, that have become a part of us. We are addressing those in other courses, talking, and maybe you want to touch on this one question in terms of I don't know if you do, I'll put it up there, but how did caste become by birth and not by profession? Is that the kind of conversations you get into the course? I'm sure you're willing to answer if you're in a class and people are asking that, but it's definitely an interesting question. If you could, we're only at 9:55. We'll keep on taking these questions. So if however you feel like answering that, Gopiji.
Yes. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned and the divine wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, the caste, that is the Varna Vyavastha. So we have Varna, Ashrama. These are the two important aspects in the Hindu tradition. Varna Vyavastha is always by action and the inherent nature, which is guna. It, over a period of time, at the time of Manu Dharma Shastra, somewhere there was an effort to freeze it and make it as by birth. But that is a kind of amendment to an actual constitution, but it is not a constitution by itself. I mean, just to put it in our modern day terminology. So we only talk about the wisdom which is in Bhagavad Gita in our course. And as far as this wisdom, the caste is always by action and guna, not and definitely not by birth.
Thank you for that clear answer on that. Do you have quizzes and exams? What's kind of the grading structure?
We do have quizzes and a final exam at the end. And the first course, you basically write nothing. You don't use a paper or a pen anywhere. Everything is being automated, made so user friendly, thanks to the technical team of Learning Management System from Hindu University of America. I could work together with them, and we have made it such a user friendly environment. You basically never require a pen or a paper throughout the course. If and only you want to do an additional effort of memorizing the slokas, then I would encourage somebody to write it a couple of times. But otherwise, that is not necessary for the entire course 1. In course 2, however, there is a deeper involvement. It is a 3-credit program with more of workload to do at the home. To give a brief differentiation between both courses. Course 1, as one of the previous students said, is the very basic course, an introductory course. It is basically to get you acquainted with the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, the meanings of the shlokas, the pronunciation of the shlokas, and if possible, memorizing these shlokas. The course 2 is to go in deeper analysis of the meanings. That's why we call it as Sodhana. Sodhana, the word meanings is to investigate. You basically get into the investigation of the meanings of these shlokas, not by referring just one Bhagavad Gita, but by referring at least 3 different Bhagavad Gitas by 3 different acharyas. Every acharya, based on their enlightenment, has given the interpretations of these shlokas, and all those interpretations are correct. None of them is wrong. Everything has its own orientation. What we do in our course, we do not align to any one particular acharya or one particular stream of knowledge. Rather, we encourage the students to do a self-investigation, a self-analysis, and come up with your own findings about how you understood now the meaning of the shloka. It's a very involving exercise, a very enjoyable, I may say, as you get involved into that course.
Great, great. I'm dropping it in the chat again, Gita Vidya Sadhana. That's the first course, and it is $200. It's a 1.5 credit unit course. And then the Gita Vidya Sadhana is a 3 credit unit course. It's more in depth, as Gopiji just kind of elaborated, and that is a $300 course. So those are kind of the fee structures. Somebody was asking that. The course is not offered at a different time. We talked about the assessments a little bit. Do you have like a minimum number of hours you think people should be putting in for the sadhana course?
The class hours, of course, as prescribed, we encourage them to participate and attend to all of the Zoom classes. You get to understand from other students how they are doing it. Maybe that gives you some tips about how to go through it. The meanings, the discussion of the meanings of the shlokas is only available through these Zoom classes, with also a lot of discussion and interaction with the class. So that's one part. And with the help of guided chanting videos that are made available to you, you will do a little bit of homework at home, maybe at least 2 hours in a week. If you can put in some effort in terms of memorizing and understanding the shlokas, I think that should be fairly enough to get through the course 1. However, the course 2 will require double the effort, with at least 4 hours in a week to spend in terms of studying the meanings of these shlokas from different Bhagavad Gitas. So that's about the homework part. 2 hours at home, maybe for course 1, maybe 3 to 4 hours for course 2.
Great, great. So those are a lot of the questions in terms of the differences between the courses. I have that poll still up. 60 out of 81 people have answered. We have quite a few questions on CAST. You know, we've done 2 previous webinars on CAST and digging into the history and the aspects of it. We're going to have a whole different course as AHUA on CAST, where we deconstruct that idea that was imposed in some ways, right? The way that it was misinterpreted. But if you want what is in the Gita, that is why you're going to be in this course with Gopiji, to actually get that from our history and our traditions and what was written by our acharyas, as opposed to what the European Indologists imposed on us so that they could colonize, right? There's so many aspects of this. I don't want to get too much into that part of that conversation in this webinar, because right here we're focusing on the Gita Vidya Pradarshini, what we're doing to ourselves better understand what is in the Gita from our perspective. Gopiji, what are your thoughts on this, and how does the Gita kind of give us that North Star, if it, as you would say, or that guiding point in context of all these different things going on in society, and how other people, how Europeans, how Americans, how other faiths have interpreted what we is in our history and our inheritance.
That's why the song which you played at the very beginning, the last stanza says Swadharma Jnana. So it's always confusing when somebody else, without deep diving into the topic and just with superficial understanding, tries to make a commentary or a kind of a remark. Need not be it is always in depth. So that's a risk that one will always have. However, what is important for us is that having born in this tradition of Hindu Dharma, it is basic and very essential for us to understand the knowledge, the Dharma Jnana of Swadharma, that is Hindu Dharma. Now that brings us a big challenge, because in Hindu Dharma, we have countless number of scriptures that have very detailed documentation about our traditions, our the past, and hence at the time of setting up this course, we had this basic discussion, and what we decided, at least to make it simple at the beginning, is to only focus in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Gita alone. And while we do that, we try to expand the horizon, not by taking any other scripture, but then the interpretations of the same Bhagavad Gita in any number of other acharyas. So we have multiple dimensions of Bhagavad Gita, but the core content is always Bhagavad Gita in our courses. And that helps us in one way. That helps us in one way to take a very small piece of research analysis. Now, if you want to do a scientific research or a chemical research, you don't take the entire pile of matter, you take a sample of it and go deeper into it. And that is enough for you to understand the characteristics of the entire matter. And so, as far as Hindu Dharma is concerned, it is a universally accepted fact that everybody counts Bhagavad Gita as gist of Hindu Dharma. And if we understand Bhagavad Gita in detail, I could say that we have understood the crux of Hindu Dharma and took the real original basics of Hindu Dharma. On a later date, it can be developed into several others, or it need not be developed at all. But with the same Dharma, we could very well run our life in a more meaningful way.
Beautiful. Thank you, Gopiji, for that. We have a couple other courses on the Bhagavad Gita as well, because it is so important, as Gopiji said. You can look at some of them. We have a specific Sanskrit course where you're going to learn it and go into it in Sanskrit as part of it. But this, I think, is one of those best introductory ways to get into the Gita with Hindu University of America. We encourage you to look into it, participate. We'll send an email. You can watch the webinar again. We have this question poll up. Let me just share it. About 60 people filled it out, so you can see what people in the webinar are thinking. Gopiji, maybe you can give some closing thoughts. I think we've gone through most of these questions, and then I can play maybe one of the songs or the mantras that you gave me as we end this webinar.
Yeah, sure. So we spoke about the differences between Gita Vidya Sadhana and Sodhana courses. We also spoke about the prerequisites. I think there is one aspect about the prerequisites that I would like to share here, also for the participants of this webinar, that might sound as a advantage of having participated this webinar, that if you, by your own existing knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, think that you know already how to recite these shlokas, and I would rather directly get into Sodhana rather than Sadhana, we have a kind of a qualifying test which can be taken, and then you could very well directly jump into Sodhana course. However, the procedure or the proper way is to get into Sadhana course and then into Sodhana course. Only this one time we are also allowing people to take lateral entry into Sodhana course as long as they exhibit their profoundness about the recitation of the sloka. You don't have to know the meanings of it in detail, but you know how to pronounce the shloka, recite the shloka, you're familiar with Bhagavad Gita. That should qualify you to direct entry into Sodhana course. And then there are two other points, that is outcomes. So what will happen once you have completed this course? We already seen in two of the testimonials, Mohan Ramaswamy ji was a very tough student in the first 2 weeks. He openly said, Gopi ji, at this age, you are asking me to recite the shloka and by heart the shloka. You're treating us like children. From that point, he became one of the most, interactive and highly participative student in the class, because it is the magic of Bhagavad Gita again. The subject is so consuming that the more you start giving into it, and particularly the thematic construction of this entire Bhagavad Gita, what we have done is we have cut it into a biteable chunk. Out of 700 shlokas, I just took 140 shlokas and also organized these 140 shlokas into a particular topic that is relevant to today's life. So physical wisdom, for example, in the first, there is the body, how the human body functions. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamasritaha Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyannam Chaturvidham. So it shloka says that I, as the digestive juices in your body, digest the 4 kinds of food: Bhakshya, Bhojya, Chokhya, Lehya. And it also gives about what kind of food encourages sattvic nature in the body, what kind of food encourages or pushes rajasic nature, and what kind of food makes you tamasic in nature. All of this is part of this course. Now, once you've done this kind of course and understood what Bhagavad Gita has to say with your daily food habits, it is definitely possible that 1 or 2 inputs of this can be adopted into our life. I personally adopted many of those inputs and benefited from it. And so as a closing statement for this today's webinar, I would say each of the topic that is part of Gita Vidya Sadhana and Sodhana is directly relevant to today's life, and everybody, including children. There is no age bar for this course. The youngest participant of my previous batch was 8 years old. So I had a class where I had 8 years boy sitting in the class to 82 years. That is the maximum age I had in my classroom. So that was a kind of a spread. And believe me, everybody have equally enjoyed the whole course, despite the age gap in between them. So that's the beauty of the topic. That's the beauty of the course and the content of it. Well, with that, Ankurji, thank you. And over to you.
नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् सदा किशोरभारती विद्या विवेकवर्धिनी प्रपञ्चव्याप्तख्यातिकै प्रज्ञा विज्ञानजागृती सदा किशोरभारती विद्या विवेकवर्धिनी प्रपञ्चव्याप्तख्यातिकै प्रज्ञा विज्ञानजागृति नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् सदा विशिष्टभारती प्रशस्तप्रथमसंस्कृति स्वदेशश्रेष्ठप्रगतिकै समैक्यशक्तिजागृति सदा विशिष्टभारती प्रशस्तप्रथमसंस्कृति स्वदेशश्रेष्ठप्रगतिकैसमैक्यशक्तिजागृति नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् सदा सधर्मभारती धरा प्रमोदकारिणि विशालविश्वशान्तिकै स्वधर्मज्ञानजागृति सदा सधर्मभारती धरा प्रमोदकारिणि विशालविश्वशान्तिकै स्वधर्मज्ञानजागृति नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि नव्यभारतं नमाम्यहं नमाम्यहं नमामि भव्यभारतम् नमामि भव्यभारतम् नमामि भव्यभारतम्
Namaste all. Dhanyavad. Thank you all.